Welcome to the Green Ledger, Tips for a Sustainable Small Business, your guide to building a profitable and sustainable small business. This is a show where making money meets making a difference. I'm Anka, your host. In each episode, I explore how resilience fuels business growth and success by applying strategies and tools that big companies use, but making them super practical for your business. Today's topic may not be on your priority list, but it is a vital entry in your Green Ledger. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back. Last week's episode was on business continuity planning, how to stay open and functional when the unexpected happens. Today we're going one step earlier. Before we even think about recovery, we need to talk about prevention. So today's episode is titled, What Could Go Wrong? A Simple Guide to Risk Management. Because, right, running a business means something always goes a little sideways, but that doesn't mean we can't plan for it. Oh, and one more thing. The work we do in this episode will actually strengthen your business continuity plan. There's some overlap here. The business continuity plan usually looks at risks more broadly. It includes a longer, more exhaustive list that considers all critical functions and what would happen if they were disrupted. When you identify risks and start thinking through responses, you're already laying the groundwork for a more solid, tailored business continuity plan. So why should you care about risk management? First off, let's define it. Risk management is simply the process of identifying what could go wrong in your business, figuring out how likely it is, and deciding what to do about it. Small businesses often skip this step. You're busy, you're focused on getting orders out, managing people, fixing problems. But the reality is that small businesses feel the impact of disruptions much more than big ones. One broken fridge, one key employee out sick, one bad storm, and boom, your whole operation is in chaos. So today, I'll show you a simple 3-step framework you can use to manage risk in your business. It won't take more than an hour or two to get started, and it can save you weeks of stress and confusion. Okay, step 1, identify what could go wrong. This is your chance to do a brain dump. What keeps you up at night? What disruptions have thrown your day off track before? Think about this in categories. Operations, like equipment breakdown, delivery delays, software crashes, or people, key employees leaves, staff shortages, illness. Money, like cash flow problems, late paying clients, raising costs. Or external, like new regulations, tariffs, power outages, supply chain hiccups. After you look at this with your head down, from the perspective of what happened to you already or could happen to you, lift your head and change your perspective. Take a look at what's happening around you, in your industry, in your local area, maybe even your competitors. This is called benchmarking. This doesn't just mean copying what others are doing. It's more like scanning the horizon, listening for patterns or signals that your peers, competitors, or industry leaders are responding to. For example, are other businesses in your sector starting to shift to compostable packaging? That could signal a change in consumer expectations or a local ordinance coming your way. Are shops near you installing shade canopies or air conditioning upgrades? That might be a quiet response to increasing heat or climate-related regulations. Even noticing that competitors are investing in certifications, adding carbon footprint labels, or sourcing locally can be a signal. These changes might not feel urgent now, but they hint at long-term shifts that could affect your business down the line, whether it's customer loyalty, compliance costs, or brand reputation. Benchmarking helps you catch these signals early, before they become disruptions. That's smart risk management. Take a few minutes and write down at least 5 risks that feel relevant to your business. If you want to challenge yourself, go for 10. Now that you have your list, step 2 is prioritize. You don't need to keep fixing everything at once. That's overwhelming. Instead, use a simple tool I love, the heat risk map. Picture a grid. Across the top is how likely something is to happen. Down the side is how bad the impact would be if it did happen. Each risk goes somewhere on the map. Some things are unlikely and low impact. You can let this go. But anything that is both likely and high impact, that's red zone. That needs your attention. Here's a simple example. Let's say you run a bakery. One of your mixers is a little old and noisy. It's not a huge problem today, but you know it could die any moment. High likelihood. And if it does, you can't fulfill your morning orders. High impact. That risk goes in the red zone. On the flip side, maybe you're worried about a new tax regulation. It could hurt your bottom line, sure, but it is unlikely to hit in the near future. That's a yellow. Watch it, but don't stress just yet. So these yellow zone risks are risks that are either likely but with a small impact, or rare but serious consequences, or you're not clear yet on the impact and likelihood of happening, but they're not a short or medium term risk. These risks don't need immediate attention, but they shouldn't be ignored. Create a watch list and set a reminder to revisit them quarterly. Some of them might slowly creep toward the red zone over time, or be tied to a specific season or event. I want to quickly touch on the timing aspect here. Yes, timing matters. A risk that seems moderate right now might become urgent in 6 months. Tariffs, for example, may not affect your cost today, but if they're scheduled to take effect next quarter, that yellow could quickly turn red. So make a note of timing and reevaluate regularly. This keeps your map dynamic and your business ahead of the curve. As what we just covered is fresh in your mind, I want to bring up again the difference between the risk management plan and the business continuity plan. You might only focus on a few key risks in your risk management plan, but your business continuity plan should reflect a full range of threats, even the low likelihood, high impact ones, because the goal there is to plan on how you respond when things go wrong, not just prevent them. Alright, step 3, do something about it. Once you've identified your top 3 or 4 red zone risks, think about how you can reduce them. You don't need a full-blown plan right away. Start small. There are 4 common ways to deal with the risk. One is to avoid it. This means eliminating the risk entirely. For example, if a supplier has been repeatedly unreliable, you might switch to a more dependable one. Or if a certain product line is causing too many problems, you might discontinue it altogether. Another way to deal with the risk is reducing it. You take steps to lessen either the likelihood or the impact. This might look like routine equipment maintenance, installing backup systems, cross-training employees, or investing in better quality inputs. The goal is to build buffers before something breaks. Another way to deal with the risk is transfer it. This is where you shift the financial impact of a risk to someone else, often through insurance or contractual agreements. If a critical delivery delay would cost you a fortune, but your contract includes a penalty clause, you've effectively transferred part of that risk. And lastly, another way to deal with a risk is to accept it. Sometimes the cost of addressing a risk is greater than the cost of the risk itself. If something is unlikely and wouldn't cause serious disruption, you might choose to accept it. But that doesn't mean ignore it. Keep an eye on it in case it changes. A small manufacturer I worked with realized their payroll was handled by one person, and that person was going to have a surgery soon. So They train the second person and document the steps. Simple fix, huge peace of mind. So think, what's one thing you can do this week to reduce the chance or impact of one of your top risks? Now, let me flip your mindset a little. Risk management isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about spotting weaknesses before they break. And when you do that, you often find opportunities to improve, innovate, and get ahead of your competition. Let's take that old mixer again. Yes, it's a risk because it could break down, but it also might be costing you more in energy or producing inconsistent results. Identifying it as a risk might lead you to invest in a newer model, one that's more efficient and reduces waste. Now, you turned a vulnerability into a value driver. Or maybe your review of supply chain risk leads you to local suppliers. Not only do you reduce dependency and lead time, but you also enhance your brand story, supporting local businesses, lowering emissions, and connecting with your community. Even things like staff turnover can become a catalyst. If you identify the risk of losing a key team member, you might implement cross-training or better onboarding, which then improves morale and retention overall. When you make risk awareness part of your core business processes, you create space for smart growth. You make decisions not out of fear but out of readiness, and that readiness is what builds resilience. So don't treat this as a burden, treat it as a competitive edge. Okay, so let's recap. Step 1 is to identify what could go wrong. Step 2 is use the heat risk map to rank your top risks. And step 3 is to take small, meaningful action. This week, take 30 minutes with a cup of coffee or tea and write down your risks. Then pick just one to work on it. That's it. You're now doing risk management. I'll link the heat map in the resources for this episode. Download it to guide you in this process. Drop me a message if you don't see it in there. Next time, we'll shift gears. In episode 4, we'll explore how to choose the right priorities based on what your business stands for and what's happening in the world around you. It's called What Matters Most, choosing the right priorities for your business. You won't want to miss it. Remember, being resilient isn't about being perfect. It's about being prepared. Thanks for listening today. See you next time. Thanks for listening to the Green Ledger Tips for a Sustainable Small Business. I'm Anka, and I hope you'll mark today's topic in your Green Ledger and let it inspire fresh ideas to make your business sustainable. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share the podcast with other small business owners who want to build a profitable and resilient business. I love growing this community of like-minded, forward-thinking, responsible small business owners. If you want to be notified when I post on my blog or create a free tool, please sign up to my blog. I'll share details in the show notes. Also, if you want to connect with me directly, I put my contact info in the show notes as well. I love to hear from you. That's it for today. Join me next time for more practical tips to help your business thrive. Until then, stay resilient, stay prepared.